Good Thursday evening. It is time for the Iman Report. It is Thursday, July 23rd. Hope everybody is having a good night. Tonight we are previewing the Big 12 and the AFC West. In NFL news tonight, it's looking like the NFL preseason will be canceled. The players, the NFLPA and the NFL is nearing an agreement on testing opt-outs. So hopefully we will start the season right on time. We will just not have any preseason football. We'll just probably have training camps with 80 players instead of 90 players. And hopefully we will have a very good NFL season coming up. I hope everybody enjoyed baseball today. Baseball's back. Welcome back, MLB. Next week, NBA's back. NHL's back. Sports are making a comeback. And at some point, we'll find. I think I wouldn't be surprised if and more colleges are announcing either they're canceling their season or moving sports to the spring of 2021. As vaccines will be starting to go into trials next month, and we shall find out the efficiency of these trials. So, I think if we can just hang on, physically distance, next month could be the worst of the COVID, and we could start. And I think there's finally going to be some drugs coming in the pipeline. So on that end, yeah. But as for college, we'll find out. But tonight it is the Big 12. I am going to preview the Big 12. Expectations and stuff. I'm going to go bottom to top like normal. I think last place this year, it will be the Kansas Jayhawks. The Mad Hatters still got some work to do in Kansas, but I think the Jayhawks are going to be trending up in another year. They did get 3 wins, but I think maybe Kansas can get to 5-7 this year. But unfortunately, Kansas is still going through a long rebuild. It won't happen overnight for the Jayhawks, but I think they are on the right track to rebuild. In 9th place, it's either going to. This one was tough. I'm going to go with Texas Tech. Texas Tech's another school that's rebuilding per se. Matt Wells trying to rebuild the culture at the program at Texas Tech. I think he's learning that Texas Tech is not an easy place to recruit. So I kind of think Texas Tech will be 9th place. Eighth place. I think I am going to go with K-State. You don't know what you're going to get out of K-State every year. But I think Kansas State will probably fall back to a 6-6 team this year. 7th place, or 8th place, yes, 7th place, West Virginia. Neil Brown's got to get the Mountaineers back to relevance this year. This will be year 2 of Neil Brown trying to implement his system at West Virginia. I don't know if they're going to go to a bowl game this year or not. I kind of have them around 5-7, 6-6. So I think middle of the pack could be the best for West Virginia. 6th place, TCU. TCU is another school that, I don't know, is Gary Patterson's best days behind him? TCU's kind of been mediocre the last few seasons. So maybe I don't know if the magic's gone out of Gary Patterson or not, but I don't think they're going to be contending for a Big 12 title yet again this year. And I think TCU, they're going to be hovering around 500 again this year. So I don't know if there's a real possibility TCU could go consecutive seasons without going to a bowl game. So I'm going to put TCU at 6th. 5th place, Baylor. I think Baylor could be around 7-5 or so. The O-line needs to be better, and they need to protect Charlie Brewer. Charlie Brewer is a good quarterback. Dave Aranda. We'll see how Dave Aranda does in year 1 as he replaces Matt Rule. Matt Rule will go on his way to Carolina. So we shall see how Baylor does this year. A regression would not be too surprising for Baylor. 4th place, Oklahoma State. We'll see how Spencer Sanders does in year 2. You've got Tylan Wallace, Cuba Hubbard. And of course, you always got Mike Gundy with the mullet. But I think 4th place is where I've got Oklahoma State this year. 3rd place, Iowa State. I kind of think this could be the year Iowa State contends for a Big 12 title. Will they get there? I doubt it, but they will come close. Matt Campbell brings back Brock Purdy and a defense that is near. So if all things come together, Iowa State will be a legitimate contender for the Big 12 this year. 2nd place, the Texas Longhorns. This is a make or break season for Tom Herman. If Texas fails to get to at least a New Year's 6 bowl game, Tom Herman will be on the hot seat in Austin. They bring in new quarterbacks after regressing to 8-5. Sam Ellinger should have a comeback season. You've got Brennan Ingles. You got David Duvernay. No, Brennan Ingle replacing Devin Duvernay. If Texas is not in the Big 12 championship game, we are going to be talking about Tom Herman being the next guy on the hot seat in Austin. So I've got in 2nd place, Hook'em Horns. 1st place, the Oklahoma Sooners. As long as Spencer Rattler is the next quarterback to go to Riley U. He's got one of the top offensive lines. The receiving core might be questionable, but I think there is no problem that Oklahoma will be back winning another Big 12 title. Until you can beat the Sooners, I think the Sooners will be back in the playoffs in 2021. Whether it's the spring or fall, time will tell. Now on to the AFC West preview. 4th place. This one was kind of tough. I had it between the Raiders and the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers. Yeah, they are going to be going to a new stadium in Inglewood. But even if COVID-19 restrictions were not around, fans would not care to show up. So I don't think it's going to make any difference having no fans, because really the Chargers have no fans in Los Angeles. I am sorry to say that. They're going to start the season with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback, and Tyrod's more of a bridge. And there's a lot more questions than answers as in terms of Justin Herbert. If Herbert can be the franchise guy, I think the Chargers can avoid the cellar. A lot will be asked out of Austin Eckler this season to run the football. But I think poor QB play is going to doom the LA Chargers this year, and LA is simply not going to care. And as long as Dean Spanos is the owner, nobody gives two you-know-whats about the Chargers until the Spanos family does finally come to their senses and sell the Chargers. They don't belong in LA. And you know what? Nobody's going to care if the Chargers are in dead last. Third place, the Las Vegas Raiders. They come to Vegas. There probably won't be any fans at Allegiant Stadium, but they do usher in a new era of football in Las Vegas. And they took a gamble on Henry Ruggs in the draft. Will it pay off? This Henry Ruggs really reminded me of an Al Davis type of draft. So Mayock didn't make the best of picks in this year's draft. Derek Carr on the hot seat this year. You do have Marcus Mariota as his backup in Las Vegas should he fail. Waller is a really good underrated tight end. And of course, the Raiders do have a good running threat. But the defense remains. And Joshua Jacobs is going to be the threat at running back again this year for the Raiders. And Jacobs is looking like, if Jacobs can successfully be the bell cow in Vegas, I think Derek Carr is going to have no problem finding Henry Ruggs. Defense is still a bit suspect. But this will be another honeymoon period for John Gruden. So he's in no danger of being fired. I think this is year one of the Las Vegas Raiders. I kind of think they will be around 8-8 for year one. But we shall see how long the honeymoon lasts in Las Vegas, even though there will be no fans in Vegas this year to watch the games. Second place, the Denver Broncos. Denver had a great draft. They got Jerry Jeudy. Of course, Denver's always got the good defense. As long as you got Von Miller and his. But if Drew Lock can find Phillip Lindsay is a good running back. If the offense comes all together, Denver is going to contend for the wild card this year. And I can't see any reason why not Denver should be contending for a wild card spot this year with Jerry Jeudy and Drew Lock. Drew Lock showed some promise as the face of the franchise. We'll see what year two of Drew Lock brings in. But I think it's going to be back to the old days of the Denver Broncos when teams feared the trip to Mile High. And in first place, your defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. They will win. They will win the AFC West. They are still the class of the AFC, possibly the best team in the NFL, with the best franchise quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. And until teams can stop the air raid offense, Kansas City is going to keep on winning. So I think it's Kansas City's division to lose. And I don't see Kansas City giving up the reins just yet. So I think Kansas City should easily win the AFC West. That's who I've got. Kansas City will probably win, I'm going to say around 12, 13 games this year for Kansas City. For Denver, I've got them about 9-7. So that's where I've got previewed. Next week, it will be the NFC East. Saturday night, we will be back to recap UFC on ESPN. Everybody have a good night. Remember to mask up. Good night.